Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about adjusting our expectations in a positive way that can improve our relationships with people. And I'm going to talk about what I call the trap of potential and how to avoid that. In today's dating world, expectations have a really big impact, and it's really a natural consequence of the structure of dating today. When we think about it, a lot of people that I meet with say the only way to meet anyone these days is through dating apps, which I get it. You know, we're in this world of easy access, social media. The issue with dating apps is we go into it already having set expectations. Ultimately, you sign up for a dating app expecting to meet somebody, whether that be to hook up, to date casually, to find your life partner. We all have our own expectations going into each interaction. Versus when we meet somebody randomly on the street, we are just judging and assessing, do I enjoy interacting with this person at all? Do we communicate well together? Is there some sort of vibe here? And we're not certain how they feel. They didn't swipe on us to confirm that they're attracted to us in some way. So there's some level of excitement, but also a level of uncertainty. You know, we don't have expectations because neither of us have communicated those yet. So there's a lot more freedom to just be in the moment and assess, am I enjoying this interaction? So when it comes to dating apps, you're going into it with that expectation already. You already know what this person is looking for. You're going to have that conversation a lot earlier on. And it takes a lot of the guesswork out of that, which can be a good thing. Ultimately, it can be anxiety provoking to wonder and be uncertain where somebody stands. And hey, you eliminate that guesswork with dating apps. However, that also leads to more future-oriented thinking early on in the relationship. Again, you're not really in the moment thinking, okay, do I enjoy this person here and now in front of me? You're thinking, oh, is this a red flag? Oh, he did this. I didn't like that. Does that mean it's going to be a problem in the future? Oh, I see that she has this job. What does that mean for me? I don't approve of that. Oh, they live here. That's going to be an issue. We're thinking of all the red flags or anticipating all the things that could go wrong and applying smaller details to future potential very early on, instead of allowing ourselves time and space to just get to know this person as a person and figuring out all those things as we go. That means it's going one of two ways. For some people, this means that they are accelerating relationships. They are on a fast track. They're moving through things. They're getting all their questions answered early on with the expectation of we can move quickly because all the little details are out of the way. We are finding all that out about each other early on. I am assessing and romanticizing this relationship and automatically thinking of our long-term partnership, and that can be problematic because then we might make excuses for somebody and allow them more space to mess up because we're already thinking of them as this long-term potential partner. Or sometimes it goes the other direction where people are finding more red flags or cutting people off, blocking them, cutting them out of their life so early on because of one little thing they said or did, and saying, well, I'm not going to waste my time, on to the next one, when actually that could have been something to work through, discuss, not necessarily this big red flag at all. So we're either limiting ourselves by cutting people off too early, or we're limiting ourselves by romanticizing and accelerating this relationship with somebody where actually they might not be as good of a fit for us. We're just kind of forcing them into this vision we have for our future because we're excited about it, understandably so. So when it comes to early dating, what I often tell clients is we need to adjust those expectations. As much as we can, prevent ourselves from thinking too far into the future and come back and ask ourselves, do I enjoy spending time with this person enough to see them again? And that's it. I know that it's very hard not to think of the future, but if you're able to take this mindset, you're limiting the potential of our expectations getting in the way of actually building a connection. And it's going to be a more authentic and genuine connection because you're focused on, do I like this person as a person? And that's what it really should be about in early dating. It should be fun, and it should be just about that. I would say for even the first few months, just taking it one date at a time, one interaction at a time. Do I enjoy texting this person enough to continue? Do I enjoy talking to them on the phone enough to give them a chance in meeting? Do I enjoy this first date enough to have a second? And keeping it there. Now, how does adjusting expectations apply to long-term partnerships or friendships or family members? This is also an important thing to do. When it comes to these established relationships, expectations also get in the way because we are expecting somebody to do or be something that they're not. We are expecting people to act in a way that aligns with our brains, the way that we think, or the way that we show love. If you're familiar with the love languages, your partner might have a very different love language for you. So for example, I may identify that my love language is words of affirmation. And therefore, if my partner isn't telling me every day how wonderful and beautiful and perfect I am, I might think, oh, he doesn't actually love me. He's not really putting in an effort, and that might make me frustrated and mad. When in actuality, his love language could be acts of service. So sure, he's not telling me every day how great I am, but he thinks of himself as showing love because he is filling my gas tank up or doing these little acts of service that he sees as acts of love. Now, if we're not communicating in the same way, if my expectations are that he's going to communicate his love in the way that I communicate it, we're going to be lacking in communication, and it's going to escalate arguments. The same is even true for our own standards we have for ourselves. I know that it's tricky. A lot of couples have issues with household tasks. One partner will think the house is a total mess. The other one will think, oh, this is fine. It's pretty clean. And so one partner is frustrated that their partner is not picking up the slack, isn't seeing the mess and initiating in the cleanup. And actually, that is not the standard that this person has. This even happens with friendships and interactions outside of relationships. Ultimately, in all relationships, people have different opinions of what is infidelity, what is inappropriate behavior, and that needs to be clearly defined where you each stand. You can't assume your partner sees it the same way. A partner, for example, might think that texting a person of the opposite sex is cheating, and then they find out their partner is texting their opposite sex coworker. That might make them really mad. Whereas that partner may not see that as inappropriate. They might think, oh, this is just an opposite sex friend. I see them the same way. I know my intentions. And so to me, this isn't a big deal. Same could be true for different lifestyle decisions. We might be mad if a partner stays out all night, and yet in their mind they're thinking, this is not a big deal. I'm just socializing and unwinding. They're not really thinking about it being a negative at all. So ultimately, we cannot expect our partners to think the same way that we do. And again, this applies to friendships and family members and things as well. We're setting the relationships up for failure if we expect somebody to act in a way that perfectly aligns with our standards we hold ourselves to, our values, and our thought process. So what do we do about this if you're misaligned with your partner? Well, of course, the most important thing to do is communicate through it. If you are not communicating your expectations, you cannot expect that your partner will follow them. And the other part, which might be harder for a lot of people, is you doing the work to adjust your expectations in the ways that you can. Now, it's important to ensure this isn't a way that's harmful for you. It shouldn't be coming at a sacrifice to your deep core values. And if it's something that really just doesn't feel right and you're forcing yourself to try to be accepting of, but really deep down you can't, then give yourself some slack. You don't have to do that. But if it is something more lighthearted, like, for example, oh, I have this expectation that my husband is going to make as much effort in planning a trip that I would. I might have to take a step back and question myself on that one. I have to ask myself, does his brain really work that way? Is he meaning any negative intent by not helping me plan this trip? Or is this more so his brain working differently than me and he can contribute to our household in different ways? So, sure, he might not be proactive in planning the trip, but he reminds me to be in the moment and go with the flow when we're on the trip. That might be one where I adjust my expectation. Instead of expecting him to be engaged in the planning process, I admire and respect what he brings to the table that will make our time more enjoyable. And in that, we both find more peace. Again, this is not always possible, and it's something for you to assess individually. If it is something that compromises your values, you don't have to accept it. It's something to work through and communicate through, or ultimately accept that you don't see eye to eye and it's not a good partnership. But a lot of times we can find more acceptance than we realize and adjust our expectations in very simple ways. Another thing that I like to call the trap of potential is also important. Now, this is on the other side of things, where I see a lot of times in relationships, somebody is continuing to stay with a partner because they have been together so long, or because they see this potential this person has. Oh, I know that they could be so much more. If they just did the work, if they just healed this part of themselves, if they just went to therapy, then things could be better. I know that if this one thing changed, we could be happy and have this long, fulfilling life together. And I see that they can do this. And that is great. It is awesome to see the strengths in somebody, even when they don't see it in themselves. You know, we all struggle, and everyone deserves support through their own mental health journey. And they deserve somebody who's going to be their biggest cheerleader and want the best for them, especially in a partnership. So that is an awesome thing to want. Yet, we do also need to adjust our expectations here. I always encourage people in this position to take a step back and really ask themselves, can I accept the person that I'm with at this stage right now if it never changes? If the answer is no, then you need to reevaluate whether this relationship is worth your energy, because we cannot expect that somebody is going to change if they are not motivated to do so. If somebody has communicated that they're wanting to change and willing to do so, that is great. But if their actions don't align with that, if where they're at right now doesn't align with forward moving progress, and there's a lot of setbacks, or they're seeming stuck in the same pattern and cycles of behavior, we need to look at the evidence and realize, you know, while we can hope for the best and see that this person has potential, there is nothing that I have control over in helping them get there. And if their behavior right now is disrespectful to me, if it is hurting me, if it is coming at a sacrifice to me, then I need to think about what I want and need, and if it aligns with this partnership, because I cannot just wait around and sacrifice, because ultimately that is enabling in a lot of ways too. You know, somebody may have the potential to be this great partner and make all these changes, but are they really going to be motivated to change if you're just accepting the behavior? And that's what that is. If you're seeing this potential that they have and falling into this trap of potential, you are actually in some ways enabling them to continue that cycle. They don't have to change, even if they think, oh yeah, it would be nice to. There's a little less motivation because they know you accept the current cycle of behavior that this relationship is in. So sometimes the best thing you can do to help somebody reach their potential that you see in them is to set firm boundaries and say, this is not something I will accept. Now, that doesn't always mean that you need to end the relationship. There are other ways to set boundaries, but it does need to be clear. There is a consequence to you disrespecting me. There's a consequence to you putting me in a position of sacrifice, and I am going to set a boundary surrounding this so that I am not in that position, and so that you can take accountability for your behavior and determine if you really want to change, because I cannot force that. I appreciate you guys being here today, and hopefully you learned something from this. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.